Ready to have some fun? Let's do it.
Be honest, I'm a nature freak.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. All kinds of happy little things going on. And if it doesn't make you happy, you're doing the wrong thing.
You really, dude, you go in on people, dude. Like, it's a thing. I feel like we can talk about it now because we know each other, but like, until you really pointed it out, it's like, holy cow, dude. Holy cow.
I think, you know what it is? It's because before I met Jesus, I was a bully. And so it's the only way I know how to be funny is like just picking on people.
Even Chris is like that sometimes too.
I don't do it to be mean though. I do it. It's only with people that I feel comfortable enough being like that with, because I'll never be like that with
I was
strangers.
gonna say, I think that's the best people to do it with. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, man. Yeah.
All of my friends are like that. Devin and I, our whole friendship is just ripping on each other. That's as you learn more about him, you'll see that's exactly how he is.
It's just like the way you gotta be, man.
Yeah, me and my family, we're pretty cruel to each other. Even Jake, like the first time he was around our family, he was like, "You guys talk to each other that way?" I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I would never say that to my family. And I was like, we know it's a joke, I think, at least.
I think that's a good family. Like when you can because some families, dude, you can't talk like about,
That's
like
Jake's family.
Really?
Yeah, like I made like a joke or something once about Jake, and afterwards Jake was like, "You cannot say that around my parents because they will not think you're kidding."
Really?
And I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. But then his dad will say like the most crude stuff ever, and I'm like, "Okay, why was it so bad that I called Jake stupid or something?" Like just like a dumb joke like that. They just don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what, you just think they're like a little bit more passive? Is that what you're saying?
They just have their own sense of humor, I guess.
Yeah.
Just different from mine and my family's, but
My extended family is so direct. Like whenever we have like functions or something, it's just like if you didn't know and you walked into the room, you'd think like people are ripping and roaring in like an argument.
Yeah.
But that's just the way they talk. They're so aggressive. My grandma, she's just like, in her 80s now. She's from the South and she just has such a thick accent and she just doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
She'll get to a point where she doesn't even refer to people as their names. She's like, and I don't even know what this one's about. I don't even know what she's doing. She's coming in here looking like that. Does not care. Does not care. And it's just like, someone that can just set a situation for other people to just start like vultures picking in. That's her. She's ultimate.
Honestly, that's my grandma too. She calls everyone boy and girl.
Oh, for
boy,
real?
girl. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's literally what she does.
That would make me not mad. I wouldn't
Like she knows your name, but she's like, girl.
Yeah. She goes, girl, get over here.
Come over here.
And then she calls like all the significant others. Like she'll call Jake, boyfriend, get over here.
Boyfriend,
my
I like
sister's,
that. That's funny.
Yeah, my sister's boyfriend, get over here.
Funny. Yeah. Dude, when people used to call me Bud when I was a kid, or Buddy. Oh my gosh.
You
didn't like it?
I hated it. I would literally try, like it would tick me off.
You know what's rough
like
about Bud? And that Bud is in my family too. Bud, they say Bud. But like the way people enunciate Bud, hey Bud.
Just real breathy.
Bud?
It rolls up.
How are you doing, Bud?
Hey,
Bud.
What's wrong with Bud?
To me, Bud's not too bad. Buddy is bad. Like,
Hey, buddy.
It feels like you think I'm just like
condescending.
Like, dude, I remember I was on a date one time and I met this girl's friend and her friend was like, "Hey, how are you, buddy?" And I was like, "Oof," because that was like, dude. First off, you're my age. Also, that feels like you're like assuming that I'm like just some schmuck. Like, don't call me buddy. You know what I mean?
Now I'm starting to like think about conversations I had because I feel like I call people bud and buddy and stuff.
I don't know,
but I mean it in the kindest way possible.
I don't mean
so.
it
You think Buddy is worse than Bud?
Yeah, Bud's fine. Buddy, now I don't have a problem. It'll catch me off guard every now and then. Like one time, like Chris called me buddy, and I didn't. I kind of was like, ooh, but it was like, well, I hear his whole family call each other buddy, but so now it's not so bad because my temper is way cool now. I used to be a hothead, and so like back BC, if someone called me buddy, it would tick me off.
Firehead.
Now what?
No, what?
Oh yeah, matches the hair.
Okay. I can take it from you. You're ginger, sort of.
Yeah.
We'll claim it. You know what?
You're a bit of a day walker, I'd say.
Just subtle Blade references in there.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
LLC copyright.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm cool with that now. Did you guys ever get mad at nicknames? People call you something that sets you off?
Something that really bothered it. Like whenever I hear someone call anyone Big Boy, I do
that. I do all of this
because I think
really.
You get called that?
No, I call people that.
Oh, I thought she says I get that all the time.
I'd fight somebody
I
that
call
called Josie
Jake
Big
that.
Boy.
I was gonna say like no one should be calling you that.
I call Jake Big Boy. I call my brother Big Boy.
What do you mean by that though? Because I feel like two things. People can mean that to say like, "Hey, grow up" or whatever, or "Hey, you're grown up. You're a big boy." Or someone's calling someone fat.
Okay, for my brother, it's because he was fat at one point in his life. He's not anymore, but he was. My sister was mean. My sister called him Fat Boy. I just called him Big Boy.
There's really no hiding.
Fat Boy was very.
Calling someone fat with Fat Boy.
He was very sad about Fat Boy.
Pretty on the nose, isn't it?
Pretty on the nose.
I just called him Big Boy, and I called Jake Big Boy. Kind of the first one, like. Because he doesn't know a lot about being an adult. So I'll be like, all right, big boy, let's go.
Equally, I don't know if I'd rather be called that because I'm overweight or what. That's not good.
And if you're both, that's a double whammy.
An overweight child. Big boy?
Yeah, big boy.
What's up, big boy?
Big boy.
Yeah, I don't like that one. Do you have like is there something that just makes you angry? Like, not it doesn't have to be a nickname, just like something that somebody would do.
I think like the chewing really loudly is a weird one.
That's a phobia, actually. That's an actual
I hate that.
diagnosed like thing. That's actually there's a term for it. Can you look it up? See what it's called? I can't remember, but it's an actual.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't know. I think the thing that bothers me is like probably the deeper thing that bothers me is like just people that are like absolutely unashamedly. They don't care. They're unself-aware, and they could care less about people around them. Yeah. Or they're just like really obnoxious things. I think
speakerphone talkers.
Like in a grocery store.
Yeah.
What's that called?
It's misophonia. So certain sounds like slurping, chewing, tapping, clicking can entice intense feelings.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a pretty general way of saying that, though. So it's like, does it make you like you're afraid? You're afraid of that?
It can make you afraid. It can make you rage. It says rage and panic. So it could make you angry or it could make you scared.
Then I might have that because I definitely get angry when people are doing it. Like, close your mouth. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rage out. How about you? You got any big pet peeves?
Pet peeves? I do have pet peeves. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I mean, one pet peeve, I hate when people don't walk on the correct side of the road that you're supposed to walk on. You're supposed to walk towards oncoming traffic.
I'm guilty of that one a lot.
And I'm like walking my dogs, and I have very reactive dogs. And so I will like go out of my way to stay away from people just so that my dogs don't bark at them. And it's so annoying when I'm on the correct side of the road and someone's walking towards me. And I'm like, do you want my dogs to attack you? Because Lola will. Lola will attack you because you're walking on the wrong side of the road.
Do you walk with your dogs a lot?
Yes. Every single day I pretty much walk with my dogs.
Are you the type of dog owner that just lets them like use the bathroom wherever?
Ooh. You carry a bag.
I don't carry a bag, but they won't poop on the road. So we walk on the road.
It's in someone's yard.
Well, the roads, that's not what I'm worried about.
They poop on the.
I've never seen dog poop in a yard on the road.
They move off, or they poop off of the greenway. So once we get to the greenway, I let them poop off to the side of the greenway.
Nice.
Because that's not anyone's yard. It's just nature.
The government's, it's just taxpayers' yard. It's our yard.
It's just like a field or something. So, they won't poop in people's lawns because I walk on the road with them.
I always flip whenever I like take my dog out for a walk. I'll like literally, if she's like looks like she's about to do it, I'm like, no.
Yeah, man.
I'm not.
My old landlord was crazy about like people pooping in lawns. She was
crazy about that. Yeah.
Get out of here!
What are you doing? I just put the landscaping down. She was an older lady.
Not the rose bush.
Yeah, she talked a little like that.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty good. But she would get really upset if people did not like carry a bag. So she would like attack you with a spear if she saw somebody. So yeah, and then your dog dog would go and poop in someone's
That's okay.
lawn.
For dogs that poop on the greenway, there's some crazy person who lives around me who will take chalk with them when they go walk. And if there's poop like on the pavement, they will like circle it and be like pig and like you're disgusting and like put slurs on the pavement because someone's dog pooped on it.
Who's the pig?
I'm
though,
like,
the person or the dog?
I want to know who's doing that and like why do you care so much?
Seriously,
about there being poop on the greenway.
You know they're out there watching too.
What would be wild is like if they circled it and then told you what kind of breed of dog that it was.
Yeah, what they thought.
That would be wild.
Real scary.
What a talent. They could go on America's Got Talent. They could tell you what type of breed of dog you have by the poop. Just trying to make a positive into a negative.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying?
Dude, okay, so I'm going to say something here. So my biological father, his dad had a dog that he was really close with. And it was a Rottweiler, I think. Or Doberman Pinschers. That doesn't really matter. Anyway, it was a dog.
I'm making a mental note of it. Thank you for sharing.
And the dog died, okay? And my grandpa, bro, went out, hit the dog's a turd, a stool, if you will, in a pill bottle and saved it in his living room.
Why?
Ew.
In memory of his dog. How crazy is that? That's wild, bro.
Dude, yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm trying to just process that.
I remember I saw that and he told me what it was. I was like, I was a youngin' when I saw that and I was like, that is not good.
So you know my landlord that is weird about the dogs pooping on the lawn?
I don't know him, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I know you're best friends with my landlord. She's been dead 5 years. I know your best friend. No, she's still alive, I think. I think she's someone that'll probably never die. She's probably, you know. But yeah, she has the elixir of life in her house somewhere. But so she lives in a neighborhood, and it's like it's not like what do you call that, homeowners association? It's not like they have a homeowners association. It's just a bunch of crazy people that try to like maintain that area.
Yeah,
and
city folk.
Yeah, city folk. And there was someone that moved in across from us because we lived close to each other. I was just renting where she was. Like next to her house. Mm-hmm. And there was the person that moved in close to us would bring their dog over on her property, which was like next to mine, and let their dog just crap on her yard. So she knew I had a dog, and I'm like, I swear it's not me. Yeah. And then she started she did reconnaissance, started watching them, and she found out it was them. Uh-huh. And so she came to me one day. She's like, hey, I just want you to know I've been on top of this poop situation. And I know that it's not your dog, Charlie. But I just want you to be aware that if you ever find poop that's not Charlie's, and I know you throw away Charlie's, but if you find poop that's not, could you do me a favor and bag up the poop and just go put it on their porch? And I'm like, Nope. I won't be doing that. She's like, well, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Yeah. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I'm like, Glenda, you've already made me uncomfortable. She goes, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but if you could bag up the poop that you see and bring it to my porch, I will make a pile of it. And I've already talked to the other neighbors, and they're aware they're going to make a pile as well. And then we're going to leave it over on their porch at night.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, you know what?
That's insane.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And I shut the door and left.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did not partake. But yeah, that's what I thought.
You said pile, and my brain thought you were going to say pie. I went to like the Help movie, like where they made that pie out of. That's what I thought. That's where I thought that was going on. I'd say, oh boy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We're gonna induct them into the neighborhood with a nice apple pie.
Okay.
A nice chocolate filled pie. I'm like, Glenn, I don't want any part of this. I feel like I'm an accessory.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Make me feel like Gypsy Rose here.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of this. I just want to pay my rent. Be a good law-abiding citizen.
Dude, that's crazy. That's insane.
She gave me those vibes though, like the kind of person it would take to put a stool in a pie and give it to someone. I feel like, I feel like she definitely.
Dude, to be a mastermind to collect it and then throw it on someone's porch in a big. Gosh, dude.
Well, she got other people on board with it. She got other neighbors.
She's a cult leader.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cult.
I think that she could be pretty good at that.
She's good at a cult.
Look, it's a fair question. Yeah. What does it take to be a good cult leader? We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Good question, actually.
What does it take to be a good cult leader? Because to put people together and to follow you into something that blindly, that's pretty that takes some skill, I think.
You're speaking my language now. Are you looking up? What are you looking up over here?
I'm just looking at how to be cult leader.
Yeah. No, your algorithm's going to be wild.
I know. I've been like Google searching like all sorts of things.
There's actually, dude, I actually love conversations about cults. Like it's a fascinating thing for me. Like it's kind of crazy. I remember, oh man, I can't remember his name. I want to say Alex Jones, but obviously it's not Alex Jones. He would probably do it. Anyway.
The globalist.
No, the Jim Jones. Right?
Jim Jones,
that one's crazy. Wasn't he from Indiana?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an Indiana guy.
Yeah.
That one's awful. Terrible. Mm-hmm. Or like the other one, like Heaven's Gate. That one, have you heard of that one before?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's crazy. They basically convinced everyone that the aliens were like, that was like the rapture, and they got all of them in like a mansion, and then had everyone like commit suicide and stuff like that.
I think that's kind of the spoof that they do on Parks and Rec about Indiana, about like,
really?
Because it's like they have a whole episode. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
They have a whole episode where there's a cult faction in Pawnee, and they follow like a reptilian leader named Zorp or whatever. Okay. And so I think that's the spoof that they did, just because like, Indiana is known for like Jim Jones, but they just kind of incorporate some of the cult stuff.
Terrible.
But yeah, like even like Charles Manson, it's like there's a book out called Chaos, by the way, a guy that's been, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I've heard of this book.
I've heard the book, yeah.
A book called Chaos, and the guy that wrote it actually has enough research that I think he's getting ready to come out with a second book. But it's basically, this guy is claiming that Charles Manson had ties with the CIA, and he was a part of the LSD trials.
Yeah,
that they taught him how to recruit through the hippie movement to discredit the movement. And to make the national perception of the hippie movement as killers, as psycho crazy kids, something to fear and to step away from, not the flower child 60s that were that we associate like the flower children with. So I think that's pretty interesting. And if you look at Charles Manson's life, he spent his whole life in prison, in and out of prison. So it's how did this person get in and out of prison?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Charlie Wood, which I believe was the director of the LSD trials, visited him in prison, which is fascinating. And not a lot of people know about that.
Dude, whoa. That whole, that conversation, dude, people still now are like obsessed with him, with Charles Manson. Like, just like.
You know what I think about? Like, so he had a lot of followers, quite a bit of followers when he went into prison. I think about what happened to the followers once he was in prison. It's like, did they create other cults? Did they... Crazy stuff, because I think the cult was called The Family.
Yeah.
And there's actually a documentary called Sons of Darkness about the son of Sam, the Sons of Sam killer in Yonkers, New York. And what's interesting is that cult, which is a satanic cult, they had parties that linked up with the family cult. Charles Manson was involved with some of the communications between his cult in this cult, the cult, I forget what the cult is called. I think it's called like the Children or something like that. But weird stuff though. And so it's like, okay, how much of, like behind the scenes, like government involvement was trying to infiltrate some of this stuff, and then how much of it just naturally happened on its own.
Yeah.
But very, very creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
There's a really cool YouTuber. He goes by Reckless Ben. He's like really famous for basically infiltrating cults. Like he finds them and then he finds a way to be a part of them, and he will be in it for like months.
Whoa.
Like because he's like he has these like glasses that have little cameras in them that he films with, and like these like tiny little microphones that you can't see and stuff. And so he's done that. He even did it with like the Scientology like people too. He went in
I feel
there,
like he's on borrowed time. That's a dangerous.
Yeah, seriously.
That's a dangerous game.
joke.
Yeah.
Somebody recognizes him internally, it'd be game, dude.
But yeah, he has some really, really good videos from doing all that kind of stuff.
It's like the people that like break laws and then put it on their YouTube channel. It's just a matter of time.
They'll get you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think just kind of speaking about that, the conversation like around Bohemian Grove, like that stuff's trippy. You know about that
Speaking
stuff?
of Alex Jones.
No, you don't know. Yeah. You don't know about that? Bohemian Grove? All right. Well, here we go. So buckle up. So basically, and Caleb, correct me if I'm wrong here. Step in. But so basically, what it is like it's a secret. It's in California, like Northern California.
Yeah, like I think by the redwoods, right?
Yeah. And so it's like it's gated off. Like civilians cannot go in there. Like if you do, like security's in there, they'll kick you out. It like get you for trespassing or whatever. But what it is it's this place where super rich and the elites will like go, like political figures, big like name actors, huge celebrities will go there, and they just do. It's super secret. Like you can't figure out.
Well, for decades it was talked about, but it was one of those like tinfoil hat things where it's like people are like, okay, go put your tinfoil hat on. This is crazy. This doesn't exist. It's like they talk about the Bilderberg meeting. It's like the world leaders meeting.
Yeah.
You know, the idea is that this is just, you know, fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So that has been before. Now that we know it's a real thing.
Yeah.
That was like for years, for decades.
Yeah.
This couldn't exist.
there's talks of like Richard Nixon being in there and like Mark Twain and stuff like that.
I think even some claim Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, like huge, like so obviously like big name people and stuff like that. And so, but what's really crazy is first off how secretive it is. Like literally, we like civilian people could never go in there. But there's videos of there's like this giant like owl figure, like a statue in there called that's like Moloch, right?
Moloch, yeah.
Moloch. And then there's videos of people in there with like these robes on and like there's a fire and everything like that.
They perform a ceremony of a mock sacrifice.
Yeah, where it's like burning a child like to that statue,
like an effigy, burning an effigy
and
that we know of.
Yeah,
that we know.
And
of.
these are like people who are like running
millionaires,
the
billionaires.
world. It's weird, and it's like,
my gosh.
and it's real. Like it's not conspiracy. Like there's actual footage of it, and it's a known thing, and that's so scary to me. That's the type of stuff that goes on.
And you know what's crazy is the first person to release footage because he snuck in, Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
Oddly
Wow.
enough. And then since then, it's other people have like been able to sneak in, and
Yeah.
they probably move locations at this point.
Probably.
Whatever it is.
but
Imagine.
still, that's
But
crazy.
what is crazy is the owl god Moloch. Like it is very scary.
Yeah.
Watching the footage of the actual like the ritual that
Yeah,
they do.
it's like biblical. Like it's like in the sense of like legit like false religious worship.
It's like you know, you're hearing of stories of like Baal. You know,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a demonic entity that they're worshiping, and the fact that like the push behind some of that is that. Oh no, that doesn't exist. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy for thinking that.
Yeah.
But then when you see things like that, it's like okay.
But yeah,
You were talking about cult. Sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
yeah, also what's really trippy about it is to think, like, even if that stuff in itself, if it is just some innocent, I mean, it's weird regardless of what it is, but if it doesn't have some sort of spiritual implications or anything, those people are making political decisions. They're making movies that affect pop culture and conversation. And it's like, dude, that's doing something, like, that has to have some sort of effect. And
Fun stuff, cults.
and we're live. Yeah. Yep.
No, I mean, whenever Netflix or Hulu or whoever releases like a documentary series on anything like that, I usually watch it just because it's interesting and scary.
Yeah. Well, the Bohemian Grove stuff is very trippy. It's very weird stuff because, yeah, I hate to think about, the people who are like running pop culture and the cinematic
world.
philosophy of how we think about stuff is just like weirdos like in robes and burning.
Oh yeah, I think what freaks me out sometimes is thinking about how, if there is any, but if there is, how much connection there are between all of these people, like celebrities or like, you know, global leaders or, you know, company leaders and stuff. That creeps me out.
Even with like all the Epstein stuff that like came out, like all the people who went there, it just
that is
makes you think different.
It does. Yeah. Release the flight list, the client list, Gwendolyn, or Maxine, right? That's
Yep.
What is the? You might need to look this up too, so I don't get the names wrong. But have you guys heard of the Skull and Bones fraternity?
I've heard about it. I don't know. I actually don't know anything about it, but I've heard about it.
So they made like a movie series about it, or at least a couple movies, I think, called Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get it wrong a little bit, but basically it is a fraternity that almost every some of the most major political players have ever been come through that fraternity. And there's like all kinds of speculation, rumors, similar to like Bohemian Grove before that footage came out to prove that it was real, of just weird stuff like ritual sacrifice, stuff like that.
Are you serious?
I think like George Bush Sr. and, George W. Bush, I think they come out of that fraternity. That's just like what I have heard, from all my friends that are in the fraternity. That's just, just like random things that you hear or like videos on, is that there's like cover-ups and weird things with that, and no one really knows if it's true or if it's false. Maybe there is some truth to it, maybe there's not, maybe there's nothing, but the whole secretiveness of it, if that's a word, is really fascinating to me. Like the secret societies, like the Mason thing is really interesting to me, because like Cornerstone here downtown, like we've done a lot of stuff through like the theater community has done a lot of stuff at the community room, and there's all these like hidden rooms and hidden like
no way.
There's like temple rooms in there, and there's actually like foot washing rooms. If you walk into it, like where your feet go are all worn out from where people's feet has. It's pretty wild. And so there's all these back tunnels to get through, and for a long time there was I don't know if this is true, but I've always heard that there's like tunnels under Muncie and stuff, but it is really wild.
Are you serious?
Under Cornerstone. I don't know if that's true.
No way. Yeah, still.
But what is wild is that like Meek's Mortuary, which I have heard there's like ties with like Masonic ties or whatever, is right across the street from Cornerstone, which is fascinating to me.
Bro, that's so weird. Yeah. Anytime the conversation on like secret society stuff fires me up, because it's like, it does like, the first thing is like, first off, it's like, what are they hiding? Like, why is there things like that? Like, what's the need for a secret society? Also, it's like, what type of person thinks that they're worthy enough to be a part of like a elite group that's like has to be secretive and like kept away from the rest of humanity? And it's like, what do you got going on that makes it so?
I heard a theory that like the Knights Templar is what turned into the Freemasons.
The Knights Templar is like, is that like, we're talking like, no, what I'm thinking of like the Round Table with like
King Arthur?
King Arthur. That's what I thought you were talking about. The Holy Grail.
Yeah, pulled the sword from the stone. Freemasons, level 33. No, I mean, it could all be, crap, but I've heard that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is crazy.
That like they just slowly morphed into that. I've also heard other theories that like
Jesse's being quiet.
I just don't know much of like any of these. Like the only thing about secret societies I know is like how back in like a long time ago, there was like a conspiracy that like not all the world leaders, but certain world leaders would like come together, and basically they were like the Illuminati, but not the Illuminati.
Except on NATO.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, not NATO, but like it was like a secretive thing, and it was before, I don't know, one of the world wars.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not very knowledgeable of this stuff, but
dude, when you get into that type of stuff,
what's really wild is like the Titanic. Most of the biggest play. Have I talked about this?
Yep, we talked about it on the last podcast.
I don't know. I don't know if that was part of the deleted one or not.
I don't know either.
I'm just gonna say it, and then if it is, you can get it. You know what's really interesting? Really interesting though? Like the Titanic, I believe that some of the biggest players of opposition, like the biggest movers and shakers of the Federal Reserve, were actually on the Titanic. Mm-hmm. So it is interesting to think like, okay, is that just coincidence? Was there a reason?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know.
Because that's really trippy looking into the Federal Reserve. What is that? Why do we have that?
Dude, there's so much, for real. There's so much stuff when you like think about, especially with like war conversation or anything, like how almost all of this stuff is motivated for like, financial gain or anything like that. Like just secret move, like just like really kind of weird movements that makes big things happen that affect a lot of people. That's all done for some really sketchy and sucky reasons. It's just like, it's really trippy to think about.
You know what's really trippy to think about? The cows have 4 stomachs.
Yeah. They can eat a lot.
Isn't that wild?
They do eat a lot.
They were made with 4 stomachs.
Is that getting too gloomy for you? Was that getting too like gloomy, the conversation?
No.
Well,
I was just running out of different cults to talk about.
All the different.
We can
cults.
take it back. You want to go gloomy again, real quick?
Sure.
Okay. Well,
Okay. So this is actually terrifying. So I don't know. Do you guys know much about what's going on with like Russia and the whole war type stuff in that conversation? Okay. So I just read that this was. Yeah, get ready. Buckle up.
Anything. Like, okay, so
I had this one in the chamber. This came out June 3rd. So I guess the U.S. like it said secretively told Ukraine that they could use U.S. weapons to like fight against Ukraine, and Putin's response to that was there's going to be fatal consequences to that decision. So it's like, dude, World War III might be right around the corner.
yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think if anyone, they're a little bit older now, anyone that grew up through the Cold War.
Yeah, it does. It's
like
the same conversation.
It's the same conversation that they've been having, since the 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's like, okay, after World War II, World War III is right around the corner.
Yeah.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Israel thing really bothers me a little bit more than the Russia thing.
Well, it's kind of all tied in together.
Yep.
Yeah.
East and West.
Kind of is.
Yeah, like it really is because,
I think China invading Taiwan is right around the corner.
dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's actually scary.
Yeah.
You talk about fears and pet peeves, dude.
Yeah.
The war, the big pet peeve, terrifying.
Luckily, we're in Indiana. Nobody cares about Indiana.
Yeah, unless
we're
there's
safe.
a draft, then we're all in trouble.
I'm not.
You're not?
Why?
Are women not in the draft? I think they are, aren't they? Are women in the draft?
I thought
I think
selective service, you didn't...
Once they pass that, once you turned 18, yeah, but because I have already passed that,
Really?
I'm not in it. Me and
No
my sister
way.
aren't.
Is that true? Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
because when you turn 18, you sign something basically saying
Right.
that you know you're going to be in the draft. Like
So then
if
they haven't made it
and
up.
I never had to do that
Well, we
because that
have
happened
to.
after me.
Right, guys, like you have to, because when we were 18, it was like you have to sign this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
now
why
girls do too, but like
Back then.
because like whenever they
Loophole.
pass that, like
But
within
see,
the past few years, but
I think if a draft ever did happen, they would probably... It wouldn't matter.
They don't want me.
They'd still probably hunt you down.
Yeah.
they probably I couldn't probably be drafted. I don't think
Why?
because my eyesight is so
Yeah.
bad.
Well, you would be lower on the.
How bad is your eyesight?
Like one of my eyes is like really blind.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I have asthma and I'm colorblind, so I would be way lower on the pick too, but still.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I have brothers, so I feel like they'd be drafted first before they'd ever come to me. Because
Really?
my brothers are younger too. So.
Can you imagine being in a culture where like they force you to, like when you turn 18, you have to fight, like in Israel?
Israel, yeah.
Yep, it's like
Kor-
it's 18.
no, or
it's
South
like
Korea,
2 years.
too.
Really?
You know, I go back and forth on that. You know, I actually don't think it's a terrible.
I don't either,
philosophy,
actually. I don't
because
think it's awful.
I think the lack of patriotism
Yeah.
is an issue.
It is.
And I think
agree.
I think there's nothing wrong with being proud of the country you come from. And I think that I actually believe that pretty wholeheartedly.
No, I do too. Yeah.
I watched a video on Robin Williams talking about standing for the flag. He dressed up. He was the whole bit was he was the flag, and he was just saying that when you salute the flag, when you stand up for the flag, when you look at the flag, you're not saluting the flag. You're saluting yourself. You know, because you are the flag. And I thought that was so good. And so I think like building something into the culture where everyone has to partake in the community, in the unity, what do you say, like a solidarity in country or whatever, that would, I think that helps with not only community, but patriotism in your country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. That gives me like goosebumps.
Yeah.
Gets me fired up, dude.
Now I personally
It's not
don't,
funny,
but if
I
all the
watch
men
Braveheart.
want to serve, that's fine. But I don't want to.
Hey,
I know. There is something about it, dude. It's the same feeling anytime I watch Braveheart, dude. I'm just fired up.
one of my
dude.
top 5.
Bro, yeah. Dude, that's like that's where it's at, dude.
Yeah.
That movie does get me fired up, bro.
Dude, there's a moment at the end. I mean, there's so many moments in that movie where it's like, yes, that'll be on my wall, like a quote. But he prays to God once he's captured by the English. William Wallace, for all the people that haven't seen Braveheart. He prays to God to just allow him to die well.
Yeah.
What a cool prayer, man.
Yeah.
Just give me the strength to die well.
Yeah. It's crazy, bro.
All right.
Dude, it's the same. I don't know. Like, this is going in a much different direction, but like, it's the same when you read the things of like the church fathers, like their teachings and their like thinking on like, I don't know, just that type of mentality. Like, they're like, or like the stories of the martyrs and like thinking about things like that. It's like, dude, that gets you pumped. Like, you think about like being like excited about like your country, like thinking about the oneness that we have in like the kingdom, like that type of mentality. That's like, yeah, thinking like, or like Peter talking about not being worthy of being hung on the cross like Jesus, but to like do it, like flip it upside down. It's like, yo, that is crazy, dude.
Have you heard like the expression that like Watergate proves that Jesus was real, like that the miracle of Jesus was real?
No, what are you talking about, dude?
So,
dude, you're deep. There's a lot going on there.
So the same, it's like a backhanded. Sounds like there's a lot going on there between them eyes. Those dead eyes.
No, I just mean you have a lot of you're a well of knowledge.
So like the expression, right, that like the Watergate scandal proves that like, you know, the miracles, or that Jesus was who he says he was, is that like Watergate involved like 12 guys, and inside of a month, all of them copped to the wrongful actions, that it was that, you know, that they lied under oath, and that all 11 of Jesus's disciples all went through torture, through horrible, horrible means of death, and were still willing to proclaim that Jesus was a truth, that their accounts were in fact factual. They were willing to die, to be martyred. And so I've never looked at it that way.
It's so funny. That's a fascinating way to think about that.
Yeah.
It's so true though. Like you think about like this concept of like, I don't know exactly the word is that we're talking about, but that philosophy of like holding on to something as being so true that you're willing to like take insane amounts of like let me die well, and like
willing to die for it.
Like that concept, like, dude, that stuff is all over scripture. And it's like, even if you're not a person of faith, it's like reading about some of the stories of these people who have such strong like convictions to the truth. Like, I think like dude, the story that fires me up so much is Mordecai, and like the story of like bow down to the king or else. And he's like, no, like I'm not doing that. I won't bow to anyone but God alone. It's like, dude, that gets you pumped, bro. That's sick, dude. That's
like the Stone Cold Austin thing
for
to
real.
say. I'm bow to no man but the creator of heaven and earth.
But it is funny because it sounds like some weird religious thing, but it's like, dude, that's gangster, dude. Or like the fact of, I can't remember their names, but the two guys that were like thrown into the fire, it's like they're like bow down to this god or bow down to the king, or else.
Talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, the three then. And it's like they're like, nope. It's like, yo, that is for real, dude. Like, and like exactly what you're talking about. All of the disciples, all of them were like, and you read about some of the ways they were killed. Like they knew about that stuff, and they didn't. I mean, and it's the same thing with Jesus. Jesus knew that the cross was in his future, and he was like, all right, I'm doing it. It's like, dude, that's like, bro, that's wild.
That's pretty wild too. Like blessed are the faithful that have not seen. It's being able to commit to a level of not being afraid of death or whether you're afraid of death or not, you're willing to die for it. I mean, it is. It absolutely is mind blowing to me.
Yeah,
you know,
get you fired.
Willing
up,
to get burned alive, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Willing to die. For what you believe. Dude. That is whoo.
And that's the. It's crazy, but that's like the pinnacle of life. It's like once you find something that you're so passionate about that you're willing to die for it. It's like, dude, that's
Well, and that's kind of like how sometimes I'll be like, I'm doing really good on my faith journey, blah 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 blah. And sometimes I just think about that. I'm like, man, like, am I at the point where I'm like Paul, like where I will literally like be in jail for being a Christian or be put to death for being a Christian? And sometimes I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, that means I need to keep going on this journey because it's hard to like think, especially like if you're like, okay, I don't want to suffer. I mean, we talked about suffering, how you have to do it, but just like it's like, oh, I don't want to suffer, but it's like, okay, but if you believe in this so much, you know, there might be a time where you have to.
That's, I mean, you brought up the furnace, but that's like the story of Daniel. It's like the society around you can completely change you. You know,
there's so many.
Do you know that those three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that was not their, that was not their names?
No, I didn't know that.
That was their Babylonian given names because they're all Judean exiles. But they all came from. So the governors that the Babylonian Empire, because at that time the Babylonian Empire had, decimated Judah, and the Judean exiles, the ones that became governors of the provinces of the Babylonian Empire were those of royal blood in Judah, the southern kingdom of what we now know as Israel. And so Daniel was a descendant of that line, one of the lines as well. But they were like governors in the Babylonian Empire. And so they changed their names. I don't believe Daniel was his Judean name either. But
so
go ahead.
Their original names, Daniel, Hananiah, Michelle, I don't know if that's how you say it, Azariah, and they were all changed to Belshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
So what's interesting about that in relation to what we're talking about is like society is changing all these people. It is not Judean culture, it is Babylonian culture. But still being willing, and obviously your name has changed too. It is that deep to where the identity is trying to be removed from you. And you're still willing to be a martyr, to be embarrassed publicly, to lose everything publicly, and die in front of everyone.
It makes me feel uneasy though, because like I think about like ISIS and stuff, and like they are willing to die for their religion, and so sometimes it makes like, I don't know. I'm just like, okay, well, if Christians are supposed to die for ours, like how are we any different from them? Like obviously like morally we're very different and stuff.
This is a huge
but like they literally do, they die for what they believe in, which is terrible. What they believe in,
but that conviction is still there. I remember, man, I got to go to Israel, and when I was in Israel I heard a story that fired me up, dude. Made me come back home to America and was like, yo, the church has got to figure things out because we're so comfortable here. But it's like, the story was, in Israel, the majority of the religion and the philosophy it's Islam and Judaism. So Christianity is not really, Christians are still persecuted in Israel. But there was a story where there was a guy who was a Christian teacher, and he was teaching, the big teaching that really shook the core of the community there was love your neighbor, or love your enemy, so love your enemy. And because that was like, it's like, the people are constantly like, they have enemies there, right? Like it's like, these people are trying to kill me, I'm trying to kill them, like it's legit, there's a legit enemy like going on there. And so he was teaching the gospel and like kind of teaching it through that perspective. And it was starting to like change the communities there. Like people were starting to be like, well, we need to figure out how to love these people and not try to like, hurt them. And so the word got to the political leaders basically of that area. And they actually came to his house to like kill him. And the person who was speaking, it was his son who saw the military people come there to kill his dad. They came out with swords and they had like the flag raised where it was like they were there to kill. And he made the decision. I think he said he was like 8 years old when this story happened. He made the decision at that point. He said, my dad is already at a point where he's teaching the truth and he's able to change lives. I'm just a kid, and if they kill me, they'll leave. So he walked out so that they would get him instead of his dad.
Wow.
And it was like, because they had a hold of him, and like he said something about like he just started praying because he thought that was it, and it was like all of a sudden like lights came and the people just ran, and like their family was safe and stuff. But it was just like that conviction of the truth is so powerful to say, if it's going to take my life for my dad to continue talking about this, I'll let them take my life. It's like, bro, that type of like, that's where it's at, dude. Like, that's the gospel. And it's like, that story just got me so fired up, dude. Just thinking about that. Like, it's, can you imagine being 8 years old and being like, well, this person is able to continue to talk about the truth that people need to hear right now. So if it's my life over his, I'm going to do it. It's like, gosh,
loving someone enough to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, in the decision of an 8-year-old, it wasn't just a love for someone, it was the love for all the people in his community. Like, it was like, these people need to hear the gospel so much that it wasn't him to sacrifice himself for his dad, it was for his people to be like, they need to hear the gospel. My dad's just the messenger, but these people need to hear the truth. And it's like, woo!
That's amazing.
Boy. Yeah. I literally came home and it was like, the church was talking about like, oh, we need to, the people don't like the coffee we're serving. It's like, yo.
Yeah, we got bigger problems than
let's
that.
figure this out, dude. Yeah. The gospels needs to be shared.
Yeah.
We need to change the coffee beans.
Yeah. It's like, bro.
5 people have left the church.
Yeah. It's like, what are we doing, America? Come on.
Well,
Come on, America.
When you are confined to your own like culture and space, you do forget about those things. That's why I think it's so important to go to other places where it's not the same. Like even just, going overseas, going to places in the United States that don't live the same way as you or think the same way as you. You kind of remember, what it's all about. Like,
yeah, and this is a huge this podcast is way different than, but it's like there's like, dude, down the street we have kids killing each other because they're in different gangs. Yeah, and it's like, dude, like that's not the truth. Like, this like identity that you have with these group of people, that's not what's going to give you and your people life. It's like, it's Jesus. Like, Christ is the only truth that you need to look at, not this other stuff. And I don't know where that's coming from, but
Well, I think it's just easy when you see it all the time in your own community, just turn a blind eye to it and kind of just forget it's happening. And then you just think about, oh, there's children in Africa who are starving. And it's like, okay, there are, but there's also children down the street who are starving. Yeah. Oh, there's war in this country. Yes, that's also sad and terrible. But like you said, we have people shooting each other down the road. Yeah. And it's just like, we need to we need to love our neighbors and really like find ways to give them the gospel.
For sure. I'm definitely like missions, like pro missions and everything, but it's like even the disciples were called to first go into their own neighborhoods and then go out, right? Like, Jesus, the Great Commission is like, start here and then go outward. It's like, we got to refix that, dude. Yeah. We need some help here still.
Yeah, the church that I went to before I went to college, it's a very small church, so they couldn't really do missions or anything. But their kind of philosophy was that, like before we ever get to a point where we do, missions out in Africa or whatever, we need to touch the people around us who haven't been touched, who haven't been told the gospel, who haven't been like loved into like that relationship. And so I always like valued that because, I don't know, I feel like going somewhere for a week and doing work and then never going there again, never talking to those people again. I'm like, how are you really spreading the gospel when you're doing that like every year just at new places? Like, you really need to put investment in people to bring them closer to God. And the only way you're going to do that is with the people you're close to, who are around you.
Yeah. Or you're creating
So you're like not a fan of mission trips?
I'm a fan of like long-term mission trips, like kind of like I'm a fan of the ones that we've been doing in Lost Creek because we go to the same place, we talk to the same people every year. Like, we are literally like creating that relationship with us. The people remember us, they know us. Like, when we went to the adult center this past mission, we didn't go last year, but we went this year to this adult center where basically disabled, mentally and physically disabled adults are put during the day so their caretakers can go do stuff. And, this is my first time there, and I walk in there, and all of them remember Lisa. And Lisa hadn't been there in like 5 years. Yeah. And the fact that these mentally disabled people remember her, it just shows like how much like relationship does in missions. And so I'm against missions where you just go somewhere once and that's it. It's like, okay, great, you built a school, or great, you did something. Yeah. But to me, I'm like, you're just doing work. You're not really spreading the gospel. So like when we create these relationships, like especially in the holler, these people aren't going to the church in the hall, or for some reason they're not, but they'll come to our cookout that we have at the church.
Yeah.
And so if we just keep doing that every year and do VBS and stuff, it's like maybe that's how we get them connected to God, because they're not
That's awesome.
listening to the church, but they'll listen to these strangers who come in and give them food.
Well, think about what Jesus did, right? Like he came, it's like God came to earth, and Christ, what he did is he raised up 12 leaders to then go. Like Jesus didn't come and he was like, all right, I'm going to go here, or I'm going to go to the other side of the world, do all this crazy stuff, and then I'm going to come home. He's like, no, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to be amongst my people in Israel, raise up 12 leaders from within here, and then tell them, now you go and do the work in these other places. So it's like, I think the beautiful thing, and if we model Christ is like you're saying, we go to these places, we develop relationships, we build leaders in that place to the point where we can say, okay, now I can leave. They've got you to now do this.
And I think missionaries are super important.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something like that at least the Mennonite Church really does believe in. They really do value missionaries and believe in that. And so, like, I think being a missionary is definitely a calling and, valuable. And when you're a missionary, you're spending time in a place. You're, like, being invested into that culture wherever you're put. And
you have to.
And And so I feel like those are worthwhile. But, just those random trips where you just go and do stuff. I'm like, how is that really...
For the Instagram?
Yeah. Well, that's what it feels like in this generation, that they're just going to say that they did it and just like a pat on the back, like, look at me, I'm a good person. Yeah. And it's like, I would rather...
If Christ didn't want relationship to exist between, not only he and man, I don't think he would have created the foundations of the church the way that Christ did. Yeah. With 12. Why? Why do it that way? Why not just boom, everybody has a knowledge of it? The way that it was created was by creating relationships. And so I do think that you have something there. Like I think that's a really interesting take that you have. Because I also think that in our world, our society, our culture looks a lot different than it did 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 500 years ago. It looks very different today than it did in biblical times. And I think our idea of what church is 4 walls, brick and mortar, but what you're describing, having like a community cookout, having a situation to build relationship with people, that can be church. Yeah. That can be church.
Oh, yeah.
You are building relationship. You're spreading the love and the word of God. And I think that is... in some part, what we are designed to do in that fellowship.
Oh yeah, I think that I think what you're talking about, that intention of doing it for the sake of like, I'm spending time to make this relationship and everything, is like, I think about how when Jesus when he called the first disciples, he could have said to them like, hey, come follow me and I'll make you like Levite priests. They would have known what that meant, right? Because they're Jewish people. They know what that means, but he didn't. Instead, what he said is, come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. That's because Jesus knew. He took the time to see these people they're fishermen. Like, this is what they do. So Jesus learns how to speak the language of the people to be able to like be present with them in the midst of that. And it's like, that's what we have to do. We have to get to know people so well, like not in some weird way where you're trying to like figure out how to infiltrate anything, but it's like you lovingly get to know someone so well and to actually care about them as a person, that then you can learn how to speak to them in a way that they'll understand it. And it's like, that doesn't happen through, hey, come to our church's service. And no, it's like, hey, let's go have this cookout in this community. Let's get to know our people. Like, that's where the good stuff really happens.
Yeah, house churches are really making a comeback.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, right now, because just kind of like what you said, Caleb, like people always thought of church as just like this specific building and all this stuff. And like the younger generation doesn't like that. And they don't like the way that is like put out. And so you're seeing a lot of like really young house churches being developed like across the country, of just these young people who are just having church in their homes. And I just think, that's just great, because they're redefining like what a church means. And like, eventually I'm sure it'll grow, just like the jar started as a church in a home and grew. But it's like, at least you have that, like, you created your foundation on like what church is supposed to be, rather than like what people have, like what society has made it be.
That's awesome, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Because you think about Jesus. Like he taught in the temples, right? Like he was in there teaching in the temples. But a lot of times when we read Jesus's teachings, he's like having a conversation with people.
Yeah.
And like he's talking to people outside, and it's like, yeah, dude, there's something to that. Just like, let's not make this so over official. Like let's just do life, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's live the gospel like outside, and let's actually walk it and just be present with people.
Yeah, on the way, it was either we were going somewhere when we were on the mission trip, and I was in the car with some of the people, and we were talking about kind of like church and kind of like the appeal of church nowadays and stuff. And it's like church isn't meant to be like a feel good, lift you up place every single week. Like it is supposed to make you feel good, but like you're there to like grow closer to each other and God, and sometimes that's hard. Like sometimes you have to have like hard conversations, and sometimes you have to hear about things, like hear truth of things that you don't agree with, because our society, like we're so different. Like you know, the Bible says a lot of things aren't right, and a lot of people live in ways that they think it's right, and so it can be difficult to kind of have those conversations. But like church is a place where in community you guys learn together and you grow together to become better Christians, and you have that accountability to do so.
For sure.
And so it's like, people, I feel like that whole like mega church thing is kind of becoming like less and less appealing to people, because they just they want that personal relationship.
Yep. Julep, 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 julep,